And we're back. No, hello. We're back. What great songs we heard from Apollo 18 there.
Absolutely.
And we're going to move on. I did tell you that I was going to bring all of the studio albums, other than the children's albums, because I had them with me. And I that was actually a slight exaggeration because I don't actually have this next one. I have the demos of it. So their next album is 1994's John Henry. This LP we've got are the John Henry demos, but it is actually a very monumental album for the band because the first four albums that they did were just the two Johns, John Linnell, John Flansburgh, and Drum Machine. And on John Henry, they recorded for the first time with a full band. I do want to follow up and say, like you were saying with Apollo 18, we're about to get into a section of They Might Be Giants albums you don't know very well. For whatever reason, I don't know why, I do not know John Henry very well.
Same.
Yeah. This will probably be a quick one.
I thought, yeah, because I do know already, like, what song I picked.
Okay.
But, like, I knew a couple of songs more than I thought, because I always think of that as the one I don't know.
Yes.
And then I always think of myself as knowing Apollo 18 better for some reason, but then I look at that and I'm like, okay, actually, I'm not as familiar with these
not
songs.
necessarily those two, but I do that all the time. The things I feel like I know really well, I'm like, I don't remember half of this. And then... yeah, I'm singing along with all the things I didn't think I'd know. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, what's your pick from John Henry?
So my definite pick. Sorry.
That's
my
all right.
pick is I Should Be Allowed to Think with the Allen Ginsberg poem at the beginning.
You know, that's so funny. If you had said that if you'd said that to me before I left my home to come over to your lovely home to record this, I would have been like, oh, okay. I was listening on Spotify to just They Might Be Giants on Shuffle, and I Should Be Allowed to Think came up, and I was like, oh yeah, I should be allowed to glue my poster.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's weird and it's great, and I like it very much. My pick from the John Henry album, I'm going to say, is The End of the Tour, but that's not really... So I'm being really difficult on this one. Like I said, I don't know this album very well, but one of my favorite They Might Be Giants songs is... from the EP released from this album. The single was Snail Shell, and it was released as an EP called Back to Skull. And absolutely, unquestionably, my favorite song from the John Henry era is a very deep cut on Back to Skull called Mrs. Train. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to play Mrs. Train here for you in the interim. There is a damn good chance we won't be, so if you hear the end of the tour, I do really like that song, but... look up Mrs. Train if you can find it. It's very interesting. So anyway...
oh, Meet James Ensor. I was just going to mention. I do really love Meet James Ensor.
And if you'd said that to me before I had driven out of my house, I would have said, oh, okay. And it was, as I was turning onto your street, it was playing on Shuffle on Spotify. Yes, it's a terrific song. But we're not going to hear those right now. We're going to hear either Mrs. Train or The End of the Tour. And I'm having goldfish memory now.
Man, me too. No.
I should be allowed to glue my poster. I should be allowed to think. Oh, dear God.
Oh, no, I do want to mention really quickly
yes,
before we play these songs. I Should Be Allowed to Think. I didn't realize, obviously I knew that a lot earlier than I knew the Allen Ginsberg poem.
Yeah.
What I find interesting is Allen Ginsberg isn't credited as one of the songwriters. However, their bassist is. Now I'm like, did the bassist pretend that was his poem?
That is intriguing now. I'm very interested about this.
We'll have to look something up about that.
Let's listen to some plagiarism from They Might Be Giants.